everyone, and welcome. So, you want to master English paragraph writing, right? Maybe improve your skills, score better on your exams. Well, you've come to exactly the right place. Today, we are going to break it all down. And look, if you find it kind of tough to get your thoughts into a really strong, clear paragraph, you are definitely not alone. So many students struggle with this. But seriously, don't worry. By the end of this, you're going to have a super simple, powerful formula to write great paragraphs every single time. All right, so here's what we've got on the agenda today. We're going to start with the absolute basics. What even is a paragraph? Then we'll look at its anatomy and introduce a fantastic tool called the Peel method. We'll walk through an example, point out some common mistakes to avoid, and wrap up with a game-changing tip for your exams. Ready? Let's get into it.
First things first. Before you can build a house, you have to understand the bricks, right? Well, that's exactly what a paragraph is. It's the most basic, fundamental building block for any essay or long answer you'll ever write.
So what's the official definition? Well, it's a group of sentences that, it fleshes out a single idea. What does that mean? It means it takes one main point, just one, what we might call एक ही ख्याल, and it expands on it. And that brings us to the golden rule, the most important thing to remember. One paragraph, one idea. That's it.
Okay, now here's a little trick, a way of thinking that is going to completely change how you write. I want you to start thinking of every single paragraph as a mini essay. Yep, you heard me right, a mini essay. Just like a big one, it needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. Once that clicks, honestly, everything else just falls into place.
All right, so if a paragraph is a mini essay, what's it made of? How is it actually built? Let's take a look under the hood and break down its anatomy. There are really just three core parts. And here they are. First up, the topic sentence. That's your beginning, like a tiny thesis statement. Then you've got the supporting sentences. That's the middle part, where you bring in all your evidence and proof. And finally, the concluding sentence. That's the end, where you wrap it all up. See? Beginning, middle, end. Just like that mini essay we talked about. Okay, now for what might be the best part of this whole thing. I'm about to give you a secret weapon, a powerful tool you can use every single time you write. It's called the Peel method. And trust me, it's simple, it's easy to remember, and it works. So what in the world is Peel? Let's break it down. P stands for point. This is where you state your main idea, right at the beginning. E is for evidence or example. Here, you back up your point with some proof, a fact, a statistic, anything that supports it. The second E is for explain. You have to explain how your evidence actually proves your point. Don't just drop it in there. And finally, L is for link. You wrap it up by linking this whole idea back to your main topic. Point, evidence, explain, link. Got it?
Okay, theory is one thing, but let's see this thing in action. Let's get practical. We're going to take a topic. How about this one? Should infants be given iPads? And we're going to build a paragraph together, step by step, using Peel. Okay, watch closely how this all comes together. So first, our point. A clear, direct sentence saying infants shouldn't get iPads. Simple. Next, our evidence. We bring in a study about speech delays. That's our proof. Then the explanation. We explain why this is happening, because screen time replaces other activities. And to finish it off, the link. We summarize the argument and tie it all up. See that? Every single sentence has a very specific job to do. All right, so we've got all the pieces, right? We've built them with the Peel method. Now for the magic moment. Let's put it all together and see what the final product, a really strong paragraph, actually looks like. Let's read this out loud. Infants should not be given iPads because studies show children under 2 can face developmental delays if they are exposed to too much screen time. A recent pediatric study show that infants who are exposed to too much screen time may experience delays in speech development. The reason infants are facing these delays is because screen time is replacing other key developmental activities. The evidence suggests that infants who have a lot of screen time experience negative consequences in their speech development, and therefore they should not be exposed to iPads at such a young age. Wow. See how that flows? It follows that Peel structure perfectly. It's so clear, it's focused, and it's really persuasive, isn't it? Okay, so we know what to do. But sometimes knowing what not to do is just as important. So let's quickly go over a couple of common traps that students fall into. Mistake number 1 is what we call a lack of unity. A good paragraph is unified. It's all about one single idea.
A bad paragraph, though, is scattered. It's jumping all over the place with different ideas. And you know what? The fix is super easy. The moment you feel yourself starting a new idea, just hit enter and start a new paragraph. Simple as that. And mistake number 2 is a lack of coherence. Coherence is just a fancy word for flow. You know, how smoothly everything connects. You could call it wrapped. In a good coherent paragraph, all the sentences just glide from one to the next. But in a choppy one, it feels disconnected and your reader is just going to get lost.
So, how can you tell if your paragraph has good flow? Here's a pro tip, and it's one of my favorites. Just read your paragraph out loud. To yourself. Yeah, I know it might feel a little weird, but if it sounds clunky or awkward when you say it, if you're stumbling over your own words, that's a huge red flag that you need to work on its coherence.
Okay, we're almost at the end, and I've got one final super practical tip for you. This one is an absolute game changer, especially for exams. It's all about using something called transition words. Think of transition words as little bridges. They're the words that connect one sentence to the next, one idea to the next. They make your writing feel so much smoother and more professional. Look at this table. You've got words to add an idea, like furthermore, words to give an example, like for instance, words to show contrast, like however, and words to conclude, like therefore. Seriously, you might want to pause and take a screenshot of this. It's that useful.
Okay, deep breath. Let's do a super quick recap of everything we've covered. Number 1, think of a paragraph as a mini essay. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. Number 2, when you're building it, use that awesome 4-step peel method. And number 3, when you're done, always check it for 2 things. Unity, is it about one idea? And coherence, does it have a nice, smooth flow?
So there you have it. You now have the tools, you have the formula. Really, the only question left is this: what powerful point are you going to build in your next paragraph? Get out there and start writing. You can do this. You've totally got this.